If you are seeing this, that means it is Wednesday again, and I just want to say welcome back. This is your weekly episode of Worship Wednesday. I want to thank you so much for being a part of this journey, for watching alongside what God is doing in my life through a profession of dance. I do not take it lightly that you keep coming back, and I do not take it lightly that God, for whatever reason, still continues to use me. Not just to minister to others, but more and more I'm noticing, like, if I go back and listen to the words that I say, or if I think about the circumstances and what was going on behind the scenes while I was making these videos, he's also using this to reaffirm and re-minister and re-pour back out into me. And I'm so grateful for that, because God is speaking even when I don't feel like it's directly, coming from him, like audibly directly from him. And I'm thankful for that. This week, listen, I've done this video a few times, and I keep falling back on, I know you can't see this, but my shirt says, be real, not perfect. Because I was trying to build up the energy level and what I usually give, and if I can be real and not try to personify perfection, I don't have it in me right now. If this goes the way I'm planning for it to go, and if you are not new here, you know that sometimes it doesn't go that way at all. Because I had another video queued up for this week, but I am feeling led a different way. And so I'm going to honor that inkling. Here's my current battle within myself. And if this goes the way that I feel like it should go, or the way I'm planning for it to go, these next 2 weeks will kind of be echoes of one another. So this week, I want to talk about an internal battle, and maybe, just maybe, me saying this out loud will help encourage or inspire someone to know that they're not alone, because I would like to believe that this is something that someone else could potentially struggle with. So I work in accounting, so I'm very much like logical and number minded, and so I tend to think of everything in values. So with that being said, I want to be careful here, and even the context video that I have started for next week, I do a lot of stammering because I want to be careful. If this was a spectrum, if this was a line, if this was a graph, I like spectrum the best. I feel like that on one side of this spectrum, if I'm talking about this internal battle, there is the culture of prosperity preaching that so many people are talking about right now. The name it and claim it, and the prosperity gospel, and if you say it, it's yours, and the negative connotation that it's more about seeking God's hand rather than his face and his heart. That's one side of the spectrum. If you then go to the other extreme, I believe that it's some version of hopeless, almost like faithless. I have a line in a poem that says, like, the difference between denying prosperity preaching versus prisoning myself outside the belief of abundance. And I feel like that kind of depicts this spectrum that I feel like in my head I'm internally conflicting with, because somewhere in the middle, somewhere where it's safe, where it's healthy, is the belief that you can stand on God's word. Because while circumstances will be presented to you, but he can work those things for the good. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. You know, take heart, you will have trouble, but Jesus overcame the world. That God has a plan for you, and it's to prosper you and not harm you. It's for good and not evil. That God can do exceedingly abundantly above all we can ask or think. That he doesn't want to withhold good things from his children without going to the other side of the spectrum, that is, I want, mine, what I believe, what I want, what I desire, and understanding that there needs to be an alignment with your heart and your mind to God's will for your life, to God's desires for your life. And when he is giving you the desires of your heart, it's when you've submitted yourself to him and what he has planned and what he has in store for you, and being able to trust that he is who he says he is, and he will do what he said he will do and what he has promised. And that sometimes that doesn't look how we want or anticipate, but ultimately he wants to give us the best because he knows better than we do. So if this is my spectrum, here's my internal battle. I feel like, and I kind of go into this in more detail, or I will go into this in more detail next week. I kind of feel like there's a part of me that has hope, but is comfortable in the storm, but also very much not comfortable in the storm. So I don't want to say comfortable. I more so want to say I've grown accustomed to the storm. So like, do I believe that God is actively working in my healing, and I am actively pursuing healing, and God and I are working together in our relationship, and that there are things that are healing in me? The answer is yes. Yes, I believe that. But do I believe in a version of myself that is healed? Do I believe that there are things that are coming off of me, that I am being changed, that I am being transformed, that I am being renewed? Yes. But do I believe in the version of me that is delivered? So like, I feel like this waiting season, this anticipation season, this pruning season that I've been in, I've really learned to trust God in this. I was battling with things in my mental health and things that were going on in my life, and I really allowed, God to step in, and he kept me, and I was able to, through him, claw my way out of that and kind of get to some ground where I can take deep breaths. But do I believe in the mountaintop? Do I believe in the exceedingly and abundantly? Do I believe in the impossible? Do I believe in miracles? Do I believe that there is more than just, he made it so you can maintain now, he made it so you're okay now? Do I believe that there's more for me? And on the other side of that same coin is, but I want to make sure I'm not seeking him for things, seeking him for elevation and not seeking him for him, for not wanting more stuff or more happiness or more joy with it risking my relationship with him. And so there's this internal battle that I'm going through right now. Like there's two big prayers that I keep trying to keep at the forefront of my mind. Number one is, Lord, please, I pray that you keep me in tune with you so that I don't fumble the things that I'm praying for. And number two is keep me in step with you. I don't want to go ahead of where you want me and be out from under your protection, from your grace, from your covering. But I don't want to be so cautious or so fearful that when you're telling me to move that I fall behind. Keep me in step with you. And so one of the things that I am learning about myself and have come to the conclusion of as I'm reflecting on Worship Wednesday is that I've done a lot of work and even a lot of dancing and professing on some in the storm type of things, in the storm type of faith. Can I believe that God can take me out of the storm? Can I believe that there's a life for me on the other side of the storm? And I want to say yes. I want to say yes, but I don't want to come up here and fake for y'all and not also acknowledge that there might be a little bit of like self-sabotage type of mentality to be like, well, you got me this far. And then I also struggle with like, am I being ungrateful? Like, girl, 6 months ago, 8 months ago, 10 months ago, you were contemplating on whether or not you still wanted to be here. The fact that you were here and declaring the goodness of the Lord, be grateful and go sit down somewhere. But is there not another part of me that's like, I believe that God has more things in store for me. I believe that God has set me on a path that is just beginning, and I'm going to watch him transform my life before my eyes. And I am believing God for so much, and I have hope and I have faith. And so you're listening to my internal teeter-totter in real time, or in semi-real time, and reflection time, I guess. So this song actually is brand new to me. I've listened to it, I don't know, twice maybe. But when I was listening to it, it really brought me back to how I've been able to sit in this, how I have struggled with this. So it talks about miracles, but miracles in the works. So it is still kind of to the tune of this like in between, in limbo. It's coming. We're waiting. We're anticipating. But like, I need to really fixate on God and on his goodness and on his grace, his undeserved favor for me. His unmerited favor for me, the gift of salvation, the gift of him wanting to use me, and the gift for him continuing to utilize what he's done in my life and use me to impact others. Like, I really need to press in, to lean in to his truths, honestly. Next week, I go into a little bit more detail of even talking about the content and the songs that I've been choosing and that I've used for Worship Wednesday, and how even that I think is a reflection of my mindset and what that means. And so I'm excited to be able to kind of even share this in kind of pieces. So I'm going to affectionately call next week's episode kind of like a continuation or part 2 of this. I say all this to say that I struggle, but I believe. I've gone through, but I'm continuing to go through. And I genuinely believe that the path unwinding before me will allow me to encounter God in a new way. And I hope that this kind of encourages you on whatever journey you're on, and whatever stage or whatever phase of the path that God has for you that you're on, that as long as there's still breath in your lungs, as long as there's still life in your body, as long as he hasn't taken you out of this earth, that he will continue to show himself to you in new ways, to use you in new ways, to reveal new things to you. And you just have to sit back and be ready for the ride. Good, bad, and different. But ultimately believing that he is a good, good father, that his desire for us is to prosper. And the society that we've lived in has distorted and convoluted a bit our definition of prosper versus what God's intention of prosper means. But that doesn't necessarily mean that he doesn't want good things for us. And that doesn't necessarily mean that there isn't goodness coming to you. That there aren't things that he wants to work out for you. Because he also says those things. Like, I don't know. I hope this makes sense to somebody, anybody. I hope you also tune back in next week to see how I kind of also continue this line of thinking. As always, this has been your weekly episode of Worship Wednesday. I hope that something you heard or some movement that you saw gives you something to talk about with God today. I thank you so much for being a part of this journey. And God willing, I will see you back here next week for next week's episode.
Some may say it's hopeless, they must have never met my God. Some may say it's over, it was finished on the cross. Some may say it's broken, but the healer's in the room. Some may say it's hopeless, but I know that God's about to move. God's about to move. Yes, he is. There's a miracle in this, and I can feel it.